the defense forces have launched a counteroffensive along the front line. According to the Telegraph, citing analysts, the Ukrainian armed forces have begun localized counterattacks to restore communication between positions along the front line between southern Dobropilya and northern Varvarivka. It is noted that the Ukrainian counteroffensive is a response to favorable conditions on the battlefield, particularly those created by blocking Starlink terminals for the Russians. According to the publication, nearly 90% of Russian units lost communication after Elon Musk disabled their satellite system at the beginning of February. This decision was made because the occupiers were installing Starlink terminals on Shaheds. Nevertheless, Russian troops continue offensive operations in several sectors of the front. According to the Institute for the Study of War in the Donetsk region, Russian forces are concentrating their efforts in the areas of Lyman, Kostiantynivka, and Pokrovsk. The occupiers launched assaults near Vovchansk and Kupiansk in the Kharkiv region, but were unable to advance. The report also mentions tactical successes by the Ukrainian armed forces. In the Zaporizhzhia region, Ukrainian troops liberated several settlements near Huliaipol. Defense forces also continue to strike Russian military targets in the rear. Meanwhile, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte mocked the slow advance of Russian troops, comparing them to a garden snail. At the Munich Security Conference, he stated that the Russians are suffering staggering losses day after day.
They want us to see the Russians as a formidable and powerful bear. But you could argue that they're advancing through Ukraine at the incredibly slow and awkward pace of a garden snail. And let's not forget that. It is crucial that we do not succumb to the deceptive trap of Russian propaganda.
Rutte added that the defense ministers of NATO countries are ready to increase military aid to Ukraine.
It started suddenly. On the night of February 14th, Russian command posts on the front line were plunged into complete digital darkness. The Telegraph reports on a sensational operation. Ukraine launched a powerful counteroffensive at the very moment when Russian units were massively disconnected from the Starlink network. How did Ukrainian forces manage to blind the enemy? In which sectors of the front have the Ukrainian armed forces already broken through the first line of defense? And why did this strike mark the beginning of the end for Russian logistics in the east? Right now, we'll break down the details of the operation that will go down in military textbooks as the Battle for Communications. Watch until the end. This is a turning point. And for more details, check out our report. You're watching the Glavrid channel, and I'm your host, Evgeny Serov. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. For a long time, the occupiers used illegally purchased Starlink terminals to control their FPV drones and communicate between units. This allowed them to coordinate their meat grinder assaults in real time. However, as the Telegraph notes, the joint efforts of Ukrainian special services and Western partners made it possible to implement a new geofencing system. The result was immediate. At a critical moment of the offensive, the Russian terminals turned into expensive plastic. Without satellite internet, enemy artillery lost its eyes, and reconnaissance drones were unable to transmit images. The Ukrainian armed forces received a window of opportunity lasting several hours, which was enough to launch a rapid breakthrough. Counteroffensive actions unfolded simultaneously in several directions. According to British journalists, the main strike was delivered in areas where the enemy relied most heavily on drones. This is the Kupiansk and Kremina area. The Ukrainian armed forces took advantage of their superiority in night vision and electronic warfare, while the enemy was trying to figure out why communications had disappeared. The second axis of attack was aimed at cutting off logistical routes. Exploiting the chaos in Russian command, Ukrainian mobile groups infiltrated deep into enemy defenses, destroying communication nodes and command posts. The Telegraph quotes Ukrainian officers, "When they lost Starlink, they were like blind kittens. We struck where they least expected it." Russian propagandists have already called this day a Black Saturday. There is hysteria in the Z channels. War correspondents are blaming the leadership for the lack of alternative communication channels. The article in Glavrid emphasizes that the shutdown of Starlink was a shock for the Russians, one they were not prepared for. At the same time, the Ukrainian command is acting extremely cautiously, maintaining radio silence. Nevertheless, the results are already noticeable. The intensity of Russian artillery shelling has dropped significantly due to the inability to adjust their fire. This allows Ukrainian infantry to secure new positions with minimal losses. The operation is ongoing, and the main objective now is not to give the enemy a chance to recover. The counteroffensive of February 2026 proves that victory in modern